I am so thrilled to be here. Lil, thank you for inviting me because Leesburg has a really special place in my heart. Right around the corner, up the road, is the General George C. Marshall House, and he was Chief of Staff of the Army in World War II. He was born in Uniontown, PA, which is where my dad was born, my mom just a little bit ways away, and he is an amazing man to emulate. I really admire him and his wife, and so my pappy was in World War II. And when I had very late in life kids, and when I had them, my mind was doing wheelies all the time, and I needed something to occupy my mind. So I went and got my master's in World War II history.
Wow.
And I love talking about the spirit of resilience that these people had and how duty-driven they were, because I really feel like that's how my parents are and how I was raised. And so I've done a lot in Washington over the years. I've been an independent entrepreneur, a creative entrepreneur for 30 years. So I really feel like his example is really needed today and just huge. So I'm super happy to be here with you and in Leesburg, which is one of my favorite places.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Oh, absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you here. I can't wait to learn more about you today. Now, as an introduction, can I have your full name, the name of your businesses, and what you offer for your clients?
Well, that is so complicated, and it shouldn't be. Okay, so I'm Callie Claire. A lot of people know me as Callie Claire. I did do television's Voices from Beyond, psychic medium readings for many, many years, and I love doing it. However, other people know me by my former name, my maiden name, which is Callie Doritza, and because I had a leading award-winning interior design firm doing high-end residential design. I still do that with historic preservation. And then, of course, I'm an artist. So Callie Claire is how most people know me. My married name is Callie Claire Boswell. Don't get married later in life and change your name later in life because it just confuses everything. So Callie Claire is my birth names. And the Claire is really because I'm clairvoyant, I'm clear seeing. It's sort of a coincidence. So, if you think that your hairdresser knows a lot about you, imagine being an interior designer. So you're in people's homes all day long, and you really get to be a very good judge of character. And I think that that's really why the psychic ability popped for me later in life. I'm a childhood gun violence survivor, 2-time gun violence survivor.
Oh, my goodness.
It was a long time ago, and I have really great methods that I use. In fact, I'm looking at my heirloom tomatoes over there.
Yeah.
I garden. I do my artwork. I have wonderful friends. My girlfriend Kathy is sitting right outside the camera view. So I do a lot of, I have a lot of healthy habits, and that's something that I help other women with because I've done probably, I'll say, minimum 10,000 hours one-on-one with my clients and my customers for coaching. So I do hypnosis, and I do neuro-linguistic programming, and a lot of things just to help them heal their own personal history.
Yes.
So just like the World War II, these women are like living through battle, but they still had to like grow their own vegetables, take care of the elderly, which is something that happened to me in the past 3 years, where I was caring for my mother-in-law, who had a lot of sass left in her. So she had stage 4 cancer.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. But it was really difficult. And so I help women in transition, whether they've gone through divorce, whether they're caregiving for the elderly. The book that I wrote wasn't the book I expected to write. In fact, it was President Eisenhower's granddaughter, Susan, who said to me last year, we were talking about,
Wow.
I graduated at the top of my class, of my cohort, for, World War II from AMU, and it was an amazing experience. I loved it. And so I went up to Gettysburg, and I met her, and, she just said, Callie, you have a story, you should tell it. And I was like, whatever, it's not that great of a story. But then I thought about it, and I thought, I think I should, because it's not everybody that has had the experiences that I've had. I don't take any kind of anxiety or panic attack medication, although I suffered for that for years. I am, as I said, a gun violence survivor. But, my parents were interesting. They just said, listen, Cal, you could get hit by a drunk driver tomorrow. A crazy person could take your life. You just need to get up and keep moving forward. And I think that's a lot of how General George C. Marshall was, and how my pappy and my grandma and my family were. It was just sort of like, this is your life. You have to honor what you have. And so even though I'm a spiritual being, even though I'm able to I have a gift that a lot of people wish that they had, I think, you have to be practical with your spirituality, because this is your only life as Lil. This is my only life as Callie. Kath, this is their only life as Kath. So we have to work within the framework of reality, and I think that that's something that I do really, really well. So, hospice and the oncology doctors said that I was the best advocate for my mother-in-law that they'd ever seen. And so I do have a special way of being very efficient and productive in my human, real life.
Yes.
Even though I'm a compassionate, empathetic person who is able to connect authentically with people and be thoughtful.
Yes.
And go that extra mile. So, yeah.
No, I love that. I love the different, I guess, mediums of work that you do. I think that is so amazing. And I think it aligns well. Because art, I feel like it's something that heals the soul. You get stuff out, you get your creative works, and then you also work with people, helping them get through maybe some trauma that's not so easy for them. So I think that is wonderful. I have to ask, I know you brought some artwork.
Yes.
Do you offer that as maybe for your clients to also get to dip their feet into?
Yes. Okay, so for sure, I'm recommending a lot of different healthy ways for people to get back into their hobbies. I'm just about to film my online courses, and there is going to be a special bonus piece on the artwork. So I
please share with us.
Yes. Okay, so I started as a fine arts painter as a teenager. My mom was really sweet. She took me to a little brick house where it was the art club, and I got to learn from wonderful people. So eventually, when I went to Carnegie Mellon in high school, and then I went to SCAD, and I got dual degrees, interior design and historic preservation. And I did that. I didn't go for painting because my mom said, Cal, we already know you're a really great painter. Go do something so that you don't have to be retrained. And so then I ended up being a great interior designer. I have kind of a funny thing. I have never been sued in 30 years.
Working with,
I know, like Washington, D.C., working with all of these really big name people, the C-suites, people that you see in the news. And so they just know that I'm somebody that is duty-driven, that they can count on me, that I have a gorgeous vision, but I'm going to make it practical. In fact, Kathy's a client as well. So, my friends are clients, and I think that's huge when you still are able to maintain those friendships afterwards, and I have. So the art was something that I could do while I was sitting by Noreen's bedside. It was something I could do at the doctor's office. So I'll just, I don't even know what I brought today, honestly.
It's beautiful.
They're just fun, abstract.
I love the neon.
Yeah, abstract is a great way to get back into your artwork. It's a great way to, this one's actually for my in-laws. They just left Arizona after 40 years. So these are all Arizona.
Cactuses a little bit, right? Oh, it's so beautiful. And I love that you use very different colors. It's not just the same, give it a pop, a zest in life, right?
Thank you.
It's gorgeous. Where can people find these if they're interested in looking at them?
You know what? Anybody wanting to get a piece of artwork or even something commissioned, somebody that wants to get a psychic medium reading or to do one-on-one coaching with me, I'm happy to do all of that.
Wow.
And that's just at Callie Claire is my handle for Instagram.
Okay.
And then these are all, it's funny because you don't even know which way these go up. They're all landscapes.
They could be any way, and they're still amazing.
So this one's actually a seascape. This one was a seascape.
I see the coral reef, right?
Yeah.
A little bit.
I even have subterranean seascapes, but they're up on the walls at home.
Yeah?
Yeah, so fun things. And then this is a little nighttime scene.
Oh, I love that.
I know, sort of
I love that the moon is golden.
Isn't that so fun?
Yeah, it's gorgeous. My goodness. How do you come up with these visions in your head to bring out into paper?
Yeah, and so I guess that's the thing. I read, I think last year I read 90 books.
Wow.
I know.
Okay.
And so part of why I'm really good at interior design and why I'm really good at the artwork, but why I'm spot on, I'm what's called an evidential medium. I get names, dates, places, how people passed away. How I do that is what I call transactive memory. So transactive memory is sort of like when the Nazis were burning all the books, okay, they didn't just hate the Jews or the Roma or the Catholics. They also hated the gays. They also hated anybody that had an affliction. If you
Basically everybody.
well,
Goodness.
blind, deaf, and so when they were burning all of Sigmund Freud's books and all of these Jewish books, they were also burning Helen Keller's books and Pearl S. Buck's books because she was writing about the Chinese, which they felt was, they had opinions about that. So anyways, Helen Keller said to everybody, don't worry about it. It's okay.
So calm.
Because you've already read these books. They're part of who we are as a people. They're part of our culture. We already know this information. You can't take it back from people. So even if they were truly lost forever, it's still a part of who we are as people. It's a part of our humanity.
Yes.
And our compassion and our empathy. So by reading all of these things, and my children are sort of bewildered by how many friends I have, but by building up this wonderful, wonderful community of friends that I have. For instance, I have one of the largest Girl Scout troops in the country.
Whoa.
With the largest volunteer trained cadre in the country. I then hear them and I listen and I love them. And I want them to do their best in the world because you're amazing. And I want you to focus on what your special gifts are and to share those with the world because people need it.
Yes.
They need it.
Absolutely.
And so through those friendships, through all of the books that I read, more and more nonfiction, but fiction as well, I have a picture in my mind. And then I'm able to immediately go to where that person is. So I would say the best way to work with me is if you are struggling and you have something stuck in your craw and you just can't get it out. You come and you do a reading. Maybe it's on the phone. I actually prefer phone readings.
Oh, wow.
Because there's no distractions.
Ah.
I'm not looking and saying, oh, I love how you're doing your eye makeup. It's really pretty. Could you teach me how to do that? I'm not distracted by you. I'm just listening to spirit. I'm just letting the images flow.
Yeah.
So I don't need to see you. It's kind of a distraction, right?
Wow, yeah.
But then, because I have my own images that
Yes.
are coming to me. Then, typically, I use the reading as a catalyst to figure out what's really holding this person back. Where are they really stuck at? And people of all shapes and sizes and forms have come to see me, and they just say, Callie, you know what? This work is equivalent to 1, if not 2, if not 3 years of traditional therapy, talk therapy. Mm-hmm. And so, a lot of my referrals actually come from psychologists and psychiatrists, where they say, this person's in a really good place, Cal, you do your thing. And funny things can happen. Like, for instance, in November, right after the terrible events of October 7th, I had a gal come, and she had already done her reading, if I'm not mistaken. And then after the reading, we had her do her hypnosis session. And I use past life regression hypnotherapy. Kathy has done all this. And forgiveness therapy, right? And so this gal went under. It's not strong, okay? It's like dream meditation.
Yeah.
And she actually saw herself as one of the victims. It was very powerful. And so I immediately just sort of brought her out. And I said, do you know where you went? And she said, I think I was here. And I said, you were there. And it just goes to show you how connected everybody is.
Yeah.
It's a little crazy. Like,
It
she
is.
was hiding in the reeds, and I could see it too, with the blue sky behind her and the breath and the palpitations of the heart, and waiting to see if this person was going to die or not. And she was
Oh
like
my
one of
gosh.
those concert goers hiding. So you just never know what's going to come up. Then we went back down into it again,
Yeah.
and then she had her own more personal experience. But it really is like a metaphor. You're talking about what hurts, and you're talking about what's showing up for you. And it really is a way of understanding why you're feeling that pain, and then processing it out. Mm-hmm. And it's fascinating what the human mind can come up with. Some people will say, well, what was that? Was that real? Or was that because I just wanted to talk about that thing or think about that thing? And my answer is always, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. As long as we're, and I give everybody I call it like their emotional toolbox. And that's something that's going to be available as a freebie soon as well. Okay. But it's kind of like their healing toolbox. You've got your pliers, you've got your tweezers, and it's like, where is that energy stuck? Yeah. And what's the color? And does it have a density? And does it have a texture? And then we kind of pull it out, and then we put it in, the magic compost, and it just sort of like flies away magically so that we can get rid of all that icky.
No, absolutely. Now, I am curious, and I'm sure some listeners will be curious, what are all the methods or options that they have to work with you as like a medium that can help them heal? Because I want to know what particular services that you have.
Yeah, thank you. Lil, I think that my format is pretty flexible, yet the baseline is the norm. So I do readings. They're 1 hour, and that is sort of full circle. We're talking about maybe people that you want to connect with, grandparents, parents, moms, dads, and then we go into what your health is like, and typically with the psychic stuff, we do touch on finances. We do touch on things that they need to work on. But I'm a big believer in that I don't want to do a full psychic reading because I really feel like we all have our experiences catalyzing us towards healing in our own way. In other words, I don't want to tell you exactly what's going to happen because we all have to have our hard knocks because that's how we grow.
Yes.
And how we learn. So I think because I have all the bachelors, the masters, and most likely there's a PhD coming up pretty quickly here in Holocaust studies, genocide studies. I would sort of like categorize myself as the spiritual humanitarian. I really want everybody to get the best out of this life. So if the focus is what can they shed, what kind of old baggage are you holding on to that you're just ready to get rid of? That to me is a really great client.
Yes.
A longer session would be a half-day session, a signature healing session. So we're doing sort of your reading where I'm helping you maybe bring some of that stuff out that you didn't even know was bothering you. Because, a lot of people have, there's patterns.
Yes.
People feel a lot of guilt and a lot of fear. There's a lot of old sexual baggage that people didn't even realize that they had from when they were teens and in their 20s. And so there's just a lot of baggage. And it's just time to get rid of it. And then, there's dealing with old opinions that other people sort of placed on you that kind of weighed you down with the concrete blocks. So we deal with a lot of that. And then I do coaching. I've done coaching for years. I actually started a great B&I group in Montgomery County years ago before my kids were born. And that's what I was. I was a coach and an interior designer. Yeah. And I had a lot of people that would sort of switch back and forth. Because really who you are at home is important too. Like, in other words, okay, you're a writer or an artist, but I don't see a studio. I don't see a jewelry place for you in your house. You love to cook and bake, but your kitchen is kind of like too small or a wreck. So, a lot of the renovations and the things that I do are to help people feel secure in the only place that they really are able to feel secure in life anymore, and that's home base.
Yes.
Like, if I can't get that right, if I can't do that, and, I do high-end design, so it's not inexpensive. It's actually, I think, wonderful, though, because, like, for instance, Schumacher and Brunswick and Fee and Clarence House and all these beautiful fabrics, you go home and you're like, oh, I'm in this happy little dream room with these happy fabrics that are so good. This is my home. This is my home, and it's personal, and it's unique, and nobody else has it.
Yes.
And it's not just rote.
Yes.
So I think people probably think, geez, how does Callie do all that different stuff? But in reality, in order to be a painter when I was a teenager and reading my mystery books and my ghost stories, so there was always that other element, but I was painting a picture. And then in interior design, I was painting a picture.
Yes.
And then when the psychic abilities popped, I was just painting a picture.
Like you said, it's all connected.
It's all connected. And so I think for some people, there's a little bit of a mystery there. Really, I think the more critical point, and I want to emphasize this, is the ethical standpoint. And I think the moral standpoint. And so I think that's where you can count on me as being somebody that's ethical, because I actually had a room in a psychiatrist's office, a really wonderful place in Bethesda. I actually had a room for rent in a psychologist's office. My wonderful OBGYN would refer me. And to this day, I still get my chiropractor friends referring me. So the physicians know that Callie's in a good place. And I know the rules. You know, if somebody is saying, I want to die, I want to kill myself, that literally immediately, and just for anyone listening, by law, you have to call 911. Yes. You know, if they're just being exaggerative or dramatic, that's one thing, but then the communication has to happen at a higher level of, okay, well, this isn't right. Like, if this is where you're really feeling, then what's your next step? Are you going to be going to the doctors after this? You know, phone calls have to happen back and forth. So I think that for the most part, the people that come to me are incredibly high achieving, like Kath over here. They're super high achievers. They're incredibly efficient, productive people. They're great on their own path, like you are. And they just need to get rid of the last concrete blocks that they're dragging around everywhere with them, and then start building new healthy habits. Because I can tell you, as a hostage survivor, there are persistent things that military personnel and veterans that I love, God bless them, have to carry with them everywhere in life. You know, loud noises, even shots, like whatever it is that's happening in daily life, the insanity, you have to find a way to walk your walk still. You still have to be part of life. You still have to get yourself out the door and go see your buddies and do activities. So, you know, the heirloom tomatoes I brought you, I love being in my garden, being in nature. I feel like I'm helping the earth. Please plant flowers with your veggies because that way you have cross-pollination. So do bee balm with your cucumbers and your zucchini. I heard a great tip the other day, and that was if your zucchinis and your cucumbers and your yellow squash are dying, actually vacuum up the shield bugs that are eating them, because they're from a different culture, a different continent, and the same techniques of killing them are not useful.
The same,
yeah. And you know, like for me, we have a swimming pool. It's such a blessing. I want to say to everybody out there, if you have a swimming pool, please plant inside the perimeter so that the deer can't get you.
Oh, the more you know.
That's right. The deer can't eat your things through the fence because you have to have a fence to keep out, you know, the kids so that they don't injure themselves.
Yes.
So yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So we have a wonderful bounty, and I love deadheading my roses. So fabulous. I love to deadhead those roses.
And we thank you so much for the tomatoes. That was so sweet.
Yes.
They look so healthy and beautiful and plump and red. So I can't wait to try them.
Yes.
Yeah, no. I would like to ask you, just because you seem like, and you are, I'm sure, a very, very busy woman. You have so many skills and things to offer to people. Yeah. How do you manage to keep,
because this is the only life we have. So there's no choices, right? Even when you get burned in the kitchen with a 3rd-degree burn.
I wanted to ask what happened, but I was like, am I overstepping?
I was 3 days in the hospital last week.
I'm so sorry.
It was very scary. The infection was going towards my heart. But I wanted to be here even though I didn't feel as prepared as I wanted to, because time doesn't stop for any of us. You just have to put one foot in front of the other. And my coaching clients, I do year-long coaching packages. And I think for a lot of people that's good, because I do have habits that are important. I sleep 8 hours a night. I read 3 or 4 hours a day. I do my artwork. I do my real work. I see my friends. I take care of my little kids. I have my Girl Scout troop.
Yes.
So I do have strict parameters with myself. I would say sleep and being able to, I cook and bake from scratch every day, all 3 meals. So,
wow.
But that way I'm more in tune with what I'm doing.
Yes, and putting in your body.
Yeah. And then, so that's why that when I do have clients that are typically referrals, but when I do have people coming to me, that time is so valuable, and what they're getting out of it is so valuable. So I have had people that have been clients for 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, interior design clients 30 years, but other newer clients from the psychic
Yes.
side that saw me on television, and they still call a couple of times a year from Chicago and Australia and
Wow.
England and internationally. So it's wonderful.
Yeah. No, I was just asking, so I'm just like, oh my goodness, like, because you're helping people with trauma, right? And I feel like maybe sometimes, because I like to swallow up people's emotions sometimes, and that can be a little bit hard, you know? So that's why I was curious to know, like, how do you stay so, like, vibrant and happy?
I do my yoga. I do my breath work. There's brain entrainment for sale on there. There was a time where I was very overwhelmed by other people's emotions, and the brain entrainment was incredibly healing because you just stick on your, and you walk and you breathe and you're just listening and you're letting it all go. But yeah, boundaries is important, and that's why I was talking about the moral, ethical boundaries. I think because I have had very famous top C-suite CEOs, people making millions and millions and millions of dollars as clients, who really, whether it was interior design or personal coaching, really have zero time to waste. So the caliber of my work, I think, is exquisite. I'm an exquisite listener. I have great compassion. I have great bandwidth for people. And the healing work I do is equivalent to 1, 2, 3 years of traditional therapy, all in one session.
Yes.
So it's really important because I don't drink. I think I have 1 or 2 social drinks a year. This year's unusual because I think I've had 3 mimosas this year. That's unheard of. I think it was like 3 years before that I didn't, but I don't miss it.
Yeah.
And as you get older, they're saying if there's one thing you could drop, it would be drinking.
Yes.
And also you need to eat less. So it is hard because now I'm a really great cook and I'm a really good baker, but I'm not supposed to eat anything that I actually make. Yeah, I know. So, yeah. So, you have to go with the flow. And when I was in garden club years ago, and that's another thing to do, is just follow your hobbies and interests, get back into things that you love, take classes. I'm doing a lot of classes. I have a mini course that's coming out on forgiveness, which is a really big deal.
What does it entail?
It's really talking about all of that old fear and contempt and resentment that we have, the shame, the guilt, the embarrassment. It's all those really ugly emotions, which only we can excavate. Only we can dig those out and choose to dig those out. But sometimes they're buried so deeply in our psyche. Old things with our parents. A lot of really successful people like me. I mean, let's just say, like, I've made them $1 million. I've spent $1 million, right? I've had big companies. I've done big things in my life. I've Inc. 5000, all that stuff. We have tested it and tried it and made it true. My mom, who I adore, she's one of my best friends. She doesn't jive with all this stuff because she says, but you were raised well, Cal. I gave you the tools and techniques, which then I took off on and made my own, So she's not really interested. She doesn't think it's a big deal, but it is a big deal. All of my success speaks to that. The millions of dollars coming in, feeding these businesses speaks to that, okay? So I know people know what I want. So I have had to learn, for instance, I sent her the book cover last night, and I said, say something nice. And she said, that's a great picture, and it's like this. So I've had to learn how, and you do this in every friendship in your life, every relationship in your life, right? You have to learn how. Kath and I did this, my girlfriend that's sitting here with me. There was a point, tell me how many years ago it was, 7 or 8 years ago, where we basically just said to each other, I just want to complain. I just want to bitch and moan right now. I don't need any advice.
You need those days sometimes.
Yeah, I think she said that. She's like, we're not problem solving here. We just want to days. That's the norm. That should be the norm.
Yes,
in friendship, right? Just say whatever you feel without any kind of filter.
Yes.
And even though I have my skill set, and that's not saying that Kath doesn't come to things. She introduces her friends, and we did a past life regression circle earlier this year and a beautiful forgiveness session. But she's her own person, and she has her own ways of doing it. And she'll let me know if she needs that extra.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that I really love about this work is for a lot of really high-powered people. I had lunch last week with a beautiful girl who's the vice president of a national company. And she's just like, Cal, I love you. Just keep going. Like everybody should know about you. But then she's like, but you'll still be mine, right? You know? And when her family, you know, she had somebody special in her family that passed away and brought me in. And we did, you know, readings and we did healing work with a whole big group. Oh, I love that. Oh my goodness, what an honor.
Oh.
What an honor and a blessing.
Right?
To be able to help people through difficult times.
And they're trusting you because this is such a personal thing to do, to open up, to let you in.
Yeah.
That's such a powerful thing.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Well, and the thing is with the World War II, people are like, well, how the heck does that come in at? Well, my grandparents were there. My grandmother, you know, my pappy, he proposed at age 10 to my grandmother who was 8 years old. They grew up together. And then his brother married a woman that went to school with her whole life. You know what I mean? So they all knew each other and they all loved each other. And their experiences were so worthwhile and so different from ours. My great aunt Genevieve, I was thinking about her this week. That was my grandmother's sister-in-law. My grandmother's name was Pleasant.
Love that.
I know. And my great aunt Genevieve, her life, like I have, my kids are just turned 10 and 6. Oh. So Aunt Genevieve had polio. She couldn't go to school. Do you know what they did to her?
No.
They made her go to the funeral home and she did hair.
What?
She did everybody's hair. She was really great. She had these little fingers and she would dress them and do their, and today we're like, what?
What? Yeah, I'm kind of like,
what?
Okay.
But they were all on farms. And they had a different experience. Everybody's shaking their head in here. They had a different experience of, you know, life and death. And, you know, like I remember my grandmother saying, oh, she was the youngest.
Yeah.
One year she interrupted her dad who was doing the once-a-year slaughter of the pig. No. And he was so upset with her because he had to shoot twice because he was worried he didn't do, the first shot didn't take the pig out. You know what I mean?
Suffering, yeah.
Suffering. So, you know, they all had a different way of dealing with things. And so that's what I'm saying is, I am a very spiritual being, and I get to talk to my loved ones in spirit and help you talk to your loved ones. But this is a human experience. We are spiritual beings having a human life. And I can't lead Girl Scouts or watch kids in the pool or do all the practical things that life needs if I'm totally distracted.
Yes.
By, you know, so it all has a place and a channel. And your intuition is your sixth sense. It's a real thing. Don't ever let anybody tell you it's not a real thing. But it has to be positioned correctly.
Yes.
And accessed correctly, right?
Yes.
Like, did I know that I was going to get burned? Actually, yeah, a couple of funny things happened to me.
Oh my gosh.
Where I was kind of getting the warnings. But when I was in the hospital, I refused the blood thinner. My husband brought my computer, and I wrote a 12,000-word ebook that's going to be a wonderful freebie on caregiving that's going to help people with what I went through with my mother-in-law and sort of like, you know, when a family member is suddenly going into hospice or has a horrible diagnosis or an injury and you're Johnny on the spot and you've got to figure out how you're going to deal with all the family dynamics and the caregiving. I gave an emergency, it's literally called the 911 Caregiver's Handbook, so that you know what to do.
Yeah.
And I would not have been able to do that if I was at home doing my normal rigmarole at the end of summer getting ready for school. So it was actually 3 days of peace and quiet, and I worked every minute of those days to get my to-do list done. Mm-hmm. So you'd never know how it's going to turn out, but you just have to trust that the people that love you, you know, when I actually have, believe it or not, in addition to the master's in World War II history
my goodness.
My BFA in interior design and historic preservation, I actually have a certification in neuro-linguistic programming, and I have a certification in hypnotherapy, and I have a certification from James Van Praagh.
These are amazing accolades.
Yeah, well, the advanced certification in mediumship. And when he met me, he said, I've never seen anybody that has like so many wonderful like people in spirit that are on your side. I said, oh yeah. Yep, they're there. And they're loving me and they're making sure that things are going smoothly. So faith and I are like this. We are tied together.
Yeah.
But you know, you have to activate faith. And that's what human life is all about. You know, I have to activate faith. I have to be in and of the world, and I have to be in tandem with things. I have to be walking the walk to allow good things to happen to me.
Yes.
You know?
Absolutely. No. And thank you so much for sharing all of this insight and your stories and your experiences.
Thank you.
Means a lot that you have come here and shared that with us, and all your backgrounds and everything
Thank
is
you.
quite impressive. I literally could talk to you all day.
Thank you.
I really, really could. And I have so many questions, but
You're beautiful, though.
oh, stop! You too. You
Yeah.
have great skin. It's
Thank
on
you.
my mind. Like, what does she do?
Well, I'm in my 50s, so.
You look amazing. I
Thank
want to look
you.
like that.
Thank
like your
you.
skin is glowing and smooth and
Yeah.
beautiful. Like it's just like you're like your
Thank
tomatoes. You're just plump
love
and
it.
beautiful.
I love it.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah. But one of my final questions is there anything that maybe I have missed that you would like to share? Any parting words?
There is a book coming out. I'm really excited about it. You know, I had some pretty bad experiences. I actually I went to New York City. This was before COVID. I met all of these great big publishing houses. I met an editor. She said, "Oh my goodness, Callie, send me your stuff." I wrote a whole book. She said, "Oh, keep sending me more, keep sending
She's
me more."
obsessed.
And then I was in California visiting my sister, and I went to this little New Age shop, and I found my book on the shelf with somebody else's name on it.
What?
Yeah.
What? How is that?
So I have just decided that I'm moving forward on my own, and the book is called Unleash Your Comeback. And it's really talking to women who have had all the interruptions, divorce, their own illness. Maybe they themselves have had cancer. Maybe they're caregiving for small kids and they've had to remote work or quit work. Maybe they're empty nesters. Maybe they never were married and they're about to try to figure out their retirement and their last chapter. So it's a book. It will be available on Amazon for pre-sale, I would say as early as next week.
Oh, wow.
And then it's also going to be a class and a year-long coaching program.
Wow.
Yeah, because I think it's a big deal. I don't think people realize how many setbacks women have. Their career just completely pauses. And you think that everything's going to be able to jump back in again and that you're going to be able to get on board. But then you realize that the people that would have given you your testimonials, like they're on hiatus or they're sick or they're retired. And everybody has their cross issues. So I think it's still a problem for the primary caregivers. Their lives are interrupted constantly. And so this is talking about how we lost our family business and amidst my mother-in-law's cancer diagnosis. And so how I got through that. And that was a multi-million-dollar business. And we closed that in December of 2022. So all of those friendships, this one here in the room with me as well, everybody helped in one way or another. And so that was incredible. But we basically had to start from scratch.
Wow.
So what you're seeing in this artwork is me coping with basically the end. Like what could have been the finish line, but I was calm and I'm in faith, and I'm in faith now that my timing is perfect.
Yeah.
My timing is perfect. Your timing is perfect. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing right now. Is this what you're going to be doing next year? I don't know. You might have matriculated and you might have grown, and so something else. But the lessons that you learn with this will be able to be applied to the next thing. And you're going to unleash your comeback. You're going to unleash your next chapter. So that's the beauty of all of this, is that everything that we're experiencing is still useful if you keep your perspective and your faith.
Yes, absolutely.
And I'm here to help you do that.
No, well, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing all of this. And I love that through all those hardships that you went through, you came out of it with something so beautiful, like your artwork and the colors. Like,
thank you.
I feel like sometimes it could be totally opposite, right? Or the colors could be completely just opposite of what you're going through. But yeah, I love that.
Thank you.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, I think loneliness and people sort of like crawling into their shell, it's a natural thing to do with all the pain. It's frightening in the world right now, but I'm a humanitarian, and the majority of my friends, I don't ever talk politics, okay? It's your sacred franchise. But the majority of my friends vote differently than I do. So if I can find a way to talk to all of these different kinds of people and befriend these people and truly care about them and love them and offer compassion, then y'all can too.
Yes.
And I'm a living example of that.
No, I love that. And I love that there's people like that out there
Yeah.
because sometimes it's like, nope, I can't because of this. And it's just like, we have to find a way to come together and move forward with it.
It's all about human life. It's possible.
Yes.
It's about loving one another. And you're amazing. And you have great things to do in the world. And your job is important.
Absolutely.
What we're offering is important. It's critical.
It is.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure.
Well, this has been an honor.
I'm
Thank
so
you.
happy that you are here and sharing your story and sharing everything that you're able to offer to society and people in the community. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Come visit Leesburg,
Okay.
General Dorsey Marshall House. Come visit Almond. Come get your picture taken.
Love that.
Yeah.
We love you. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.